So both Alex and Layla Hormozi told me that it was this simple to scale a business, especially if I wanted to see $100,000 per month in my company. And I boiled it down to a couple points that I'm going to share with you here today. So back in end of March, I went to the in-person scaling workshop with acquisition.com to meet both Alex and Layla and their entire team, and learned a ton of insight. But these are the main points that stuck out the most. So the first point that Alex brings up is basically on the topic of LTV to CAC ratio. Now, this is his holy grail formula that he uses not only to scale his own businesses, but his portfolio of companies. And it's really as simple as understanding that LTV is your lifetime value of your customers, your clients, and then your CAC or your CAC is the cost to acquire those customers. And he says that you need to be keeping this ratio at a 3-to-1 at all times in order to unlock scalability in your company. Now you're probably wondering, like, why can't it be even 2-to-1? Well, that's because expenses come into play, and he's also talking about gross, not net revenue. Okay, so it's important to understand the delineation between the both of them. So for example, if you are paying $1,000 to get a customer and then they pay you $3,000 for your product or service, technically you are within the golden ratio to unlock scalability within your business. Okay, now he did warn us that there are some risks that can be involved with this process. And as Alex was going through this, he basically said that you want to be increasing your value with the LTV to CAC ratio and then decreasing your risk. And there are 5 main risk factors that are going to stop you from having a very profitable and sellable asset of a business if you want to eventually exit one day for millions and millions of dollars. The first one being key man risk. That means that the business primarily relies on you and you alone. So if you were to step away for a vacation in, Bahamas for a week and you couldn't leave your business to kind of run on its own without it breaking or somebody needing you, that means that you are a key man risk in the business. This could also rely on like having only one sales person on your team that can close all the calls, close all the deals. If they're sick one week and now you have to go back into the business to close, you don't have anybody else to close those calls, that is key man risk. The second is key client risk. Now basically Alex laid out that you can have one main client that is like your whale client feeding you a majority of your revenue, while you have the rest of your clientele that are kind of like small fishes that don't really pay as much as the big whale client. Now, how do you fix this? He basically said that you can do one of two things. You can either get your small fish clients to pay you as much as your whale clients, or you just go after whale clients, essentially, those big high ticket clients that all can pay you evenly, or you can kind of just come down to only really going after the small fishes, quote unquote. But if you know Alex and you watch a lot of his content, then you would know that he always tells you to go up market and serve people that have more money. And it might be a little bit tougher, but if you are going to go ahead and find the big whales, then just go and smash the big whales. That's it. The third point of risk is called single channel risk. Now, most of you probably only really market from one channel, and if you aren't marketing from a channel, you probably just rely on like word of mouth and referrals, and even that is kind of sketchy because that's no predictable way to grow and scale your business, right? Even McDonald's advertises every single day to make sure that they're getting customers to come to them, right? So what you need to be doing is do multiple different channels. I'm going to use McDonald's as an example, but they do TV ads, they also do billboard ads, they also do in mail, like physical mail. I get McDonald's ads in my mail all the time, and they're using multiple channels to grow their business. Now for you, you're probably just using maybe like Facebook ads or cold outreach, email outreach, direct message on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, for example. What Alex is saying is that if you want to have a really solid asset, you need to have multiple channels. Now again, if you've also consumed Alex's content, he tells you that you need to, at the beginning, focus on one channel. Now, while that is the truth, from what I've seen in my experience of growing a business, I've seen multiple different avenues work where outbound dials and cold calling works really well. LinkedIn works really well. Cold email, I've got some of my biggest clients through cold email. and just keeping a healthy pipeline. And now we're even dabbling into some paid ads and getting some inbound leads that way. So it's just having a multitude of different variants that you can at least test the waters with and see maybe at least like a couple that you can really go ahead and start generating some business from. So that's the third point. The fourth point is market risk. Now, this is very, very simple. Are you in a market that's growing or declining? Okay, so if you are trying to start up a newspaper business, you are probably going to die out due to that majority of media is digital now, right? It's a lot of it has to do with TV, social media, Twitter, blah, 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 wherever you get your news from. Most people are online and aren't really looking forward to the daily newspaper as they once were maybe like 20 plus years ago, right? So now you need to pick a market that is essentially growing, and if you do want to have a valuable asset of a business and actually make a lot of money, it needs to be in a good industry. You can obviously use AI as one of those emerging markets right now, so that would be one to really get early in on and go from there. And last but not least, the fifth key metric of risk that Alex tells you that you need to fix if you want to have a very highly profitable business is the data risk. So most of us, if not all of us, at least 98% of us, are probably using Excel spreadsheets or Google Sheets to track your entire business, or maybe you're not tracking it all. But ultimately, that is a huge red flag, and you will essentially never know how to unlock profitability within your business if you don't know the data correctly, and if it isn't stored in a proper data center, something like a CRM, for example. And there's multiple different tools out there that you can get that can really essentially track all this for you. I recommend like a CRM, like Go High Level is great. Pipedrive, something like that. Obviously HubSpot, Salesforce is a little bit more higher end, but if you're starting out, you don't really need that much. You can get away with spreadsheets for a little bit, but then the pain in the ass is then having to transfer everything over into the actual software that you would want to track these numbers for and have a lot of it automated for you in the long run as well. So that is really the 5 things, and it's pretty simple if you break it down, that you really just need to increase the lifetime value of your customers and making sure that you're not paying a lot to acquire them. So it needs to be at least a third of what you're paying to acquire that customer to unlock scalability in your business. Now, for the other side of that is also decreasing the risk, making sure that the 5 key risk factors that we talked about are being decreased over time. Are you going to decrease them all at once? Probably not. Even Alex said himself when he was selling Gym Launch, he had to go back and decrease key man risk because the business heavily relied on his face. He even showed us a tactic on how he was able to get himself out of basically being in the content, and he would literally have the CEO, now I totally forget his name, totally apologize, leave it in the comments below if you know who it is. I can picture him, I just forget his name. But they would literally do content with him, I believe it was him, and they would dress him up in the same clothing as Alex would wear in videos, and then eventually they would do the content together, and then it would just be the new guy, the new CEO, who would take over the face of the company. And that's how they slowly transitioned Alex out of being the key man risk of the business, because investors weren't going to buy the company thinking that it had to do with his brand. So that was the main thing. And then the other thing was data risk. They had to go back and basically make sure that all their numbers were in order. They put everything from spreadsheets into proper software that was automated and could track everything with pure accuracy. So that is that. And then also, last but not least, Layla went ahead and dropped some absolute gems when it came to, while you're scaling, the key is also the leverage point as well. Now, not a lot of people talk about this. This might be a little bit advanced for some of the people watching this right now, but the leverage point that you need to first work on is removing yourself, and that comes with replacing you with good teammates. So this could be salespeople, this could be copywriters for fulfillment, this could be VAs or admin people, that kind of stuff, right? It's learning how to start to delegate tasks in order to remove yourself and find talent who can be better than you at the thing that you're trying to delegate. And Layla's points were basically very, very simple. What you want to be doing is calling out your ideal type of teammate. So if you're looking for a sales closer, you need to describe them in detail. Hey, I'm looking for a high ticket closer who can work remotely on X offer to sell my real estate coaching package for whatever. You're going to tell them all the benefits that are involved. and what they could really expect to earn and how they're going to be able to grow within the company. So it's actually calling them out. And now there's all these people that have ridiculous titles all over the world, but you really want to get specific with who it is that you need to come in and replace you for the thing that you are going to replace. So in my opinion, admin is probably the first task, or fulfillment is going to be the first task that you would really want to delegate. So for example, if you have a Facebook marketing agency, you are probably going to want to delegate the person who oversees the accounts, right? Facebook ad accounts and everything. So you get an account manager to oversee your Facebook ad campaigns, and that's what you would call out whenever you do any type of hiring to replace yourself and gain that next leverage point in your business as you're growing, because you need your time back so you can make more money. There you go. Next, when you are hiring these type of people, you want to clarify the why and speak to their desires. So I'll use a salesperson again for example. So if you're going to hire a salesperson, you'd essentially want to tell them, hey, like, this is how much money that you can make, and you could be free, you could be working remote, and here's where we want to see you grow. You want to be like a setter to a closer to a sales manager and to a sales head, department head, something like that, right? Where you are basically laying out the growth path for their development, number one, and then how much they want to make. Especially if you're talking about salespeople, they probably want to make a lot of money. That's what they're there for, right? So their desire is to probably work remotely, have a little bit more of a flexible schedule so they can just have conversations and make money from the sales that they do generate. That's pretty much it. Now, it's going to be a little bit different for maybe somebody who is a, admin rep or HR department type of person, or whoever you get, that might be a different role. Ultimately, you're going to speak to different desires when you are hiring people. And then lastly is just going to be communicating the benefits of what that person can get from your company that already exists. So number one being like, hey, if you can work remote from this company, that's a benefit, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be like, oh, I have dental plans, or I have a pension plan or something like that. It just has to be what already exists. So if you know that you pay a base salary of like $500 a month for a closer, plus like 10% or 15% on a closed deal, and they can make X amount of money, and they can work remotely, and they get the chance to eventually manage a team if they can grow with consistency. These are all benefits that start to pile up for that person. That seems like this is a really good place to grow within your business. So that was the massive gem that Layla had amongst many that Layla and Alex had pretty much dropped for us. So that was that. But yeah, I've learned a ton from both of them, and if you want to get the document to where I basically jotted down each and every single point from the 2-day event when I was there working with them and their team, then I can leave that down in the description below and you can check it out from there. But that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.